If you are over 30 and you learn a new language, you feel it's hard, much harder than it was before. And there is even a question in your head, maybe I'm too old to learn something new. I know this because I had it in me a lot and I still have it. And whenever I share these thoughts with my friends or family, they tell me, don't worry about your age. Age doesn't matter. And I know what they mean, but for me it's not convincing enough. So I decided to pull hundreds of researches about language learning. I analyzed them with AI to find some correlations between language learning results and the age of the learner. And I hope that seeing these results will help you, maybe if not completely get rid of this thought, but at least to understand what's really is going on there. And whenever I have any concerns, I try to find a counter example. And I found an article that tells a story of Julie. I'm not even sure if it's her real name. So Julie was 21 years old, English-speaking woman, and she married a man from Egypt. Right after the wedding, she moved with him to Egypt without any Arabic knowledge. And the interesting part, what happened right after they moved there, he was summoned by military and he had to leave her with his relatives for 45 days. And she stayed at his home with his family, and neither of them was English speaking. And she didn't speak Arabic at all. And she stayed in this environment for 45 days. And keep in mind that this article was published in 1994, so these events happened even before that. And there were no Google Translate or ChatGPT. But to be fair, she from the beginning started paying a lot of attention to morphology, how words are built, how to combine them, how to pronounce them. And she was in this environment for 45 days. Of course, magic didn't happen. If you expect that I will tell you now that after 45 days she became fluent, of course not. Once her husband was back, they kept communication in English as well as Arabic. She also started looking for a job and slowly she was integrating, but she never took real Arabic course. So she didn't have proper Arabic education, and all her language learning was acquired from this immersion. And she spent a lot of time there, I think almost 26 years. And then she participated in a research or in an experiment where the jury, the group of people, wanted to define her language level. And the interesting outcome of that was that out of 13 people, these jury members, 8 recognized her as native Arabic speaker. The way how she was able to use very complex sentences, the way how she'd been able to recognize difference between different dialects. Without proper education, only through immersion, she reached near native language level. It took a while though, 26 years, it's not that fast. But what's interesting that there was another person that participated in the same experiment and she had similar story. She, from United States, when she was young, she married a man from Egypt. But she actually took proper Arabic classes and she had proper language education, but both of them showed similar results. And I don't know about you, but this story inspires me a lot because I never aimed to have near native experience. I will be okay if I will not just freeze when people speak German with me on the street. And if it is possible to reach this near native language level, most likely it is possible to have some decent level regardless when you started to learn the language. But of course, it's just one example, it's just one story that inspires language learners. One example is not enough. So I found another research that specifically studied how people learn the language and what are their results depends on when they started. And it was quite massive research. It was more than 500,000 of people, I think 669 or something like that. And results were quite interesting. So there is a plateau up until 17 years old. And then after this point, the overall results or end result of language learning starts decreasing. So if you start learning a new language after 17, then yes, age matters and it affects your results. But what's interesting, there is no cutoff. So yes, results slowly decreasing, but there is no point after which you cannot learn anything. There is even more interesting thing. Another research was studying the group of people from 59 to 79, and they took very relaxed English class for beginners. It was one time per week, 2 hours within 4 months. And even though none of them actually became fluent, obviously, they not only were able to learn a little bit of English, but also their overall cognitive performance, so basically their brain capabilities, increased. So considering these two facts that yes, your language learning capabilities slowly decrease, but regardless of the level you eventually reach, it's still beneficial for your brain. We can say first, if you want to learn a new language, you better do it now because it will never be as easy as today. And second, regardless what you will do, if you will do some language learning, it will be already beneficial, at least for your brain, if not for your speaking. And one of the most surprising things in these researches was that I thought that the older you get, the slower you learn. Because, you know, you are not that young, your brain is not that fast anymore. But actually, it's quite opposite. Younger people shows better results only on a long distance. On a short run, adults show better results, especially with grammar, with patterns recognition, with vocabulary learning. And in general, when we talk about language learning, it makes sense to measure it on a bigger scale, because this is the only option to see real results and real performance. And even though you can learn some basics in the beginning, become fully proficient takes time, even for native speakers. Even native speakers reach full proficiency in average within 30 years. We are talking about the level after which it's almost nothing to improve. So when person can use complex grammatical structures, know advanced vocabulary. And of course, the majority of learning happens in the first 10, 20 years. But then to finish this journey, you require almost the same amount of time. And if this is true for native speaker, what can we say about people who are learning their second or third language? But the biggest and the most important thing about age and how it affects language learning is that language learning is multi-factor process. And the impact that age is doing is tiny comparing to other factors and other parameters. And even this question, am I too old to learn something new? It's not even about the age itself. It's more about, will I be able to be good in it? Or isn't it just waste of time? Does it make sense to even start my journey? What other people will think about me when they will see me in a classroom? So in general, it's just a huge pile of anxiety and uncertainty that's on our shoulders. And this is the real problem. And this thing affects language learning the most. There was a study of 76 senior people learning the language, and it was proved that their age didn't really affect results. What did affect, for example, classroom environment and how supportive was the teacher, how enjoyable were the lessons. So overall learning experience was the most important thing that affected results. And even the ability to answer simple question why you learned the language showed bigger impact than age. So people who were able to say like, yeah, I learned language because I want to speak to my doctor, were performing better than people who said, yeah, I don't know. And whenever now I have these thoughts about, am I too old to do something? I'm trying to understand, is it really about the age? Or maybe it's about what other people will think about me. Or maybe it's about self-confidence. Or maybe it's about the fear of failure. And I want to ask you to do one thing right now. Drop in the comments your age. Just number. I know my channel statistics. I know what people are watching my videos, but I want to see every one of you, and maybe your number that you will drop in the comments will help other people to see that they can do it as well. Maybe it will inspire someone. Maybe it will make someone a little bit more confident and a little bit more motivated. My name is Ivan. I'm 36. See you later.